The Syndicate continue their skid and the Slammers continue to prop up the board. It's week 5, let's talk ball.
We're talking baseball, and today's was the butter. We're talking baseball, and today's was the butter.
I'm Sean McCauley, this is week 5. I'm going to take you through all the winners and losers of this week's All-Star Baseball Classic. Let's get straight into it. We've got the Virtuous Vanguards at the Renaissance Runners at Motor Yard. So first pitch, it's a home run for Mandela. A little bounce on top of the fence. It puts the Vanguards up straight away. What a start. Second at bat and Parks nearly gets another. It's caught on the warning track by Vicilio, who had a bit of a nightmare last week. So it's always good to see him saving them early. But the Vanguards come out and make a statement really early on. This team was full of confidence coming off that win against the Slammers last week. You could feel the tension in the ground after the Runners failed to beat the Gladiators in extra innings last time out too. Anthony throwing a really nice slider this week that was taking out a few of those runners. She's starting to prove herself here. There's no flukes. This is just hard work and talent pushing her up the pitching leaderboards every single week. And it's helping the Vanguards stay at the top of the table too. Some slightly odd decision making from the Vanguards infield that lets the runners get back in the game in the second. Da Vinci sneaks one home, makes the game 1-1. Then Tubman makes a huge error in the third, loses the ball in the air, allows Bardi to get to third. The Vanguards again choosing to stop the runner at first instead of stopping Bardi getting home. It's an odd strategy, but with one out, it's clearly an instruction from the dugout. Speaking of Bardi, okay, let's talk a little bit about Bardi right now. What a highlight reel he was putting together in this game. Making big plays, and you could tell he was feeling himself. He's smiling every time he notices the camera on him. He's been having a decent season so far. Solid mid-table batter, good performances, but he really likes playing at this ballpark, and you can see it. Loves having the fans behind him, truly excels when things start going his way. He goes 2 for 3 with a triple and a single. Just a great day out for Bardi. Ike comes back in the 7th for the Runners to try and manage a 1-run lead. Looks a little shaky on the first couple of pitches, but locks it in, has a great 7th, gives up no hits, and strikes out 2. Truth comes in for Anthony in the 7th, struggles against the right-handers, allows another run that nips over Malcolm on the 3rd. She lets Vicilio, who was 0 for 3 at this stage, get 2 RBIs, and Caravaggio gets a 3-run homer out to left field. I would have taken her out here, but they let her see the end of the inning. Marshall gets a few pitches in the 8th, bringing in the lefty, to stop the rot. It seems to work. He might not be the best out there, but he is getting more game time than some of the other closers in this league. You know what? I had a lot of fun watching this one. One of the highlight games of the season so far. Really nice to see the Runners get another win at home against a very good Vanguards team that just didn't really show up today. Runners win this one 9-2. Great performance. They owe a lot to Bardi on this one, but Da Vinci having a pretty nice day out there too. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Di Bondone. Okay, this guy, groundbreaking Italian painter and an architect from Florence, widely considered to be the spark that lit the Renaissance era. He revolutionized Western art by moving away from the Byzantine styles to introduce three-dimensional figures, emotional expression, and some realistic storytelling. His most renowned work is the fresco cycle in the Scrovegni Chapel, completed around 1305, which features some dramatic scenes from the life and passion of Christ. His innovative approach to the human form and narrative influenced generations of artists, making a significant shift toward the humanism of the Renaissance. Since joining the Runners, he's been inconsistent with his pitching, and as a result, the Runners sit 8th in the league currently. He has still managed to post some very impressive stats, though. With a 3.04 ERA and a 9.59 SPER, he certainly shouldn't be underestimated in the early innings of any game. Let's move on to Game 2. We get the Syndicate at the Gladiators at Castillo Arena. This is two teams at the bottom of the table, both looking to move up. They've both really struggled this season so far, but Kepler, he had a big day out last week and has managed to keep his position as starter. Tiberius has also struggled, so for both pitchers, this is a really good time to prove themselves and show why they're starters in this league. 3 up and 3 down for both teams in the first inning. Kepler gives up the first walk in the second, which Commodus follows up with a 2-run homer. Coming off last week, I really expected Kepler to have a better day, but maybe it was a fluke. It's an impressive fluke to have against the Commanders, but this was a really poor showing from him today. A few fielding errors that the Syndicate got away with in this game, some poor decision-making all over the field. It's not just Kepler. He can't take full responsibility. It wasn't just Kepler that lost this one. This is a bigger problem in the clubhouse and the coaching staff. There's a team philosophy that needs to be addressed because it's just not working. The Gladiators weren't particularly impressive in this game either. Definitely seeing some improvements and some tighter team play. This was a good result for them to get here, but they didn't win the game. The Syndicate lost this one. Franklin comes back this week after her week off last week. She looks pretty decent in a couple of the innings that she pitched, picking up from Kepler's mistakes early. She definitely grounds this team. She has a better baseball IQ. She controls her infield. She's superior in every way to Kepler. I give her the start next week. If she's not starting next week, I just think you see the Syndicate continue to slide. Sagan comes in to finish this one for them, gives up a few big plays. It doesn't help that Darwin makes an awful dive in left field, missing the ball by quite some distance. Curry at second, fumbles a grounder on the next at-bat. Galileo manages 2 home runs in this game, and that's probably the only performance worth talking about for them. It's not a great game from either side. The Gladiators do pull it out 8-4, but it's not a good game of baseball. Really disappointing. But nice to see the Gladiators get a win. Warlords at Slammers at Big Sky Park. This should be an easy one, right? After last week, you'd think so. Heraclitus comes in for Thales to start. Thales taken out early last time due to his injuries, but also some pretty poor performances. Now, he was sitting in the bullpen and suited up. So he was available for the game, but the Slammers chose to try something new against the Warlords at home this week, and I think that's a good decision. Heraclitus hasn't played that many innings this season, so it was hard to know prior to the game what he was going to bring to the table. And it wasn't really a great start. Hideki Tojo gets a 2-run homer in the first. Coming off last week, we expected him to do something impressive, particularly against what is quite a poor team in the Slammers. And yeah, he continues his good run. Look, Heraclitus starts to settle into the game. He looks like he could be the starter going forward. It's certainly a promising change for them early, but on the offensive side of the ball, they just can't make the contact that they need to. Lots of ground balls, not making it out of the infield. Really easy to deal with for the Warlords. Socrates gets a massive home run out to right field in the third, which brings them back in the game. Heraclitus makes a few mistakes, but it seems to recover well. Okay, I like the way he approaches the game after giving up those early runs. Clearly, he wasn't a long-term plan. Maybe this is just, hey, let's see how he goes. Let's see what we're going to do going forward, because Thales comes back in to finish the fourth. So that injury, clearly not that serious. This was very evidently a, let's see where we can go. Let's see what we can actually do here. Straight back to the same Slammers, though. Another 2-run homer in the fifth from Trujillo, who has absolutely no business doing that. But this is Thales. Okay, I have to believe at this stage he's the problem with this Slammers team. And he shouldn't be. On paper, he's so much better. But you look at the stats and his UPER is 4.64. His ERA is over 5. It's not going to cut it. Coming into the season, I thought he was going to be one of the top pitchers on one of the less strong teams. I think it's just overall what we're seeing is this team is not a cohesive unit, and there's failures all over the field. Antonescu pulled a hamstring. That could have been really bad news for the Warlords. He had a big week last week. I would think he was hoping to build on that momentum, so he'll be a really big loss for them if he can't get fit for next week. Didn't seem to matter for them this week, though. The Slammers making odd substitutions, generally playing quite poor baseball. Hypatia gets a home run in the 8th. Didn't seem to make a difference, though. Ends up being a complete blowout. The Warlords showing up again with a big scoreline. The Slammers had absolutely nothing to respond. Warlords win 12-3. Yeah. It's kind of what we expected to happen. Okay, let's move on. Crushers at Potamax at Founders Field. Two really strong teams here, giving up absolutely nothing in this game. Probably not the most fun for the casual, but both teams putting on really good defensive performances. I enjoyed watching this. Okay, this one really came down to who could sneak a grounder past the infield, force an error in the outfield to advance some runners. Both sets of fielders really tight, some great double plays, quick innings, very few hits from either side. By the 6th inning, the Crushers had 4, the Commanders have 3 in terms of hits, right? Still a 0-0 scoreline. But this is where the stamina question comes in. We definitely see Polo start to struggle. The Commanders don't make much of the inning, but it's the first sign of weakness in this game. They get a couple of hits out to the boundary for singles, can't get any runners home though. Bush was still looking strong here, and I think the Commanders were just waiting to see who was going to be the reliever for the Crushers to try and maximize their strategy. They know that Bush can probably stretch a little bit further than Polo, so they can wait. Hudson comes in after Polo lets up a couple of dangerous hits. Slightly questionable fair balls that go in the favor of the Commanders. They kind of get lucky at home again. This sees the first score of the game. The Commanders send a ball deep to center and relieve some of that pressure. They take a 2-0 lead. So the Commanders showing here they've got a bit of longevity. Bush staying in the game a little bit longer, showing he can still handle those batters, whereas Polo, we started to see that weakness around the 6th inning, and that's not unusual. He can stay in the game longer unless it's Degama, because he evens up the game with a 2-run homer. Grant comes in after Bush's first mistake of the game in the 8th. He looks pretty decent up until the 9th, where he makes a very uncharacteristic mistake, giving up another 2-run homer. This wins the game for the Crushers. This was really, really tight. Both teams came out with a plan that for the most part executed perfectly. Really wasn't that much between them. Just those 2 home runs for the Crushers, and Degama, he makes the difference. Crushers win this one 4-2. Let's move on to Reds at Flushers. So, Stade Royale, both teams coming off a loss, looking to get back to winning ways here at the Stade Royale. The Reds going for a very different approach in this game. Much more calculated, a much slower style of game compared to what we've seen them play before. But you know what? It pays off really early. They take the lead, advancing 1 base at a time. It's a very slow style of play, but I like it. Marks looked really solid out there too. It was really hard for the Flushers to get going in this one. Henry Tudor back on form on first, makes a few nice plays, got a big hand, stopped some bigger plays happening for the Reds. Napoleon really shuts down Mao. That was one of the keys for the Royals here, okay? Couldn't stop Luxembourg though, who once again, she's showing her ability to play against the best. A home run in the 8th keeps the Reds in it. Romanova gets her 2nd home run of the game though to give the Royals the lead in the 6th. Easily one of her best outings of the season. Charlemagne comes in for the Royals in the 8th to try and hold a narrow lead that they have. Doesn't quite work out that way. He allows the Reds to get another one to tie up the game. Tudor, or Elizabeth Tudor, sends one over the fence to win it for the Flushers. This was a tight game from 2 great teams. I think the Reds will be really, really disappointed this week to not take out a win here. But the Flushers winning it 4-3, owing it all to Elizabeth Tudor. That home run seals it for them, puts them back near the top of the board. Guillotines at Nordics at the Corral, so Garibaldi gets off to a really good start in this one. Feeling a little too confident, tries to steal second base in the 1st inning, gets caught out. You know what, I appreciate them trying to put a bit of pressure on early, but the Nordics, they know the Nordics are going to score against them, so they really have to make it clear that they're here to play. I like the idea. I don't like the execution. Skylar Grimson comes in very, very early for fair hair. Comes in the third. It's not unusual for them, okay? We've seen them do this before. The Nordics are one of those teams that we're going to see them really use their whole bullpen. And I like the strategy. But when you lose 5 runs to the Guillotines in the third inning, there's no option. It doesn't matter what your strategy is or who your team is. If you lose 5 runs in the third inning, you're getting taken out. Okay? The Nordics didn't really seem to have any handle on this game, even after scoring a couple of runs in the bottom of the third. Forks and the Guillotines mostly had this one under control. They never really looked under any pressure or like they were going to give anything up. So Tryggvason comes in the 5th to try and take out Murat, who was having a really good game up until this point too. And it seems like it might be enough to get them a couple of runs on the board without conceding another. Eriksdotter has the final pitch of the game for the Nordics. We still haven't seen enough of her to judge, but I get the impression she's going to be a really good closer for them. They're going to throw her in to do 1 out, and I don't mind that, okay? Because if she can get it, that's what you need. She's there for very specific batters and very specific styles, okay? Even if it's to do a very niche job, she's there to do it, and I think she's doing it really great so far. A little bit too late for the Nordics, really. The Guillotines run this one out 6-3. It's another good win for them. The big hitting power, just no match for the strong team play, the Guillotines. And that third inning really called the game. Murat, Lovacho, Garibaldi having great games. Forks having a great game too. He plays the entire game. Only gives up 8 hits. The Guillotines doubled that against 4 different pitchers. So no matter what the Nordics were throwing out, they just couldn't compete. All right, let's have a look at the scoreboards then. So Potomacs still at the top, 4-1. The Guillotines go up to second. They're also 4-1, and the Royal Flushers in third, also 4-1. Those run differences getting real tight here. Potomacs on 7, Guillotines on 5, Flushers on 4. So it's tight at the top. It's going to be really interesting as we head towards the second part of this first half of the season. We've got the Compass Crushers in 4th, 3-2. The Warlords and the Virtuous Vanguards also on 3-2 in 5th and 6th respectively. The Red Scares dropping down to 7th on 2-3 after that loss. The Renaissance Runners also on 2-3, trying to put up some numbers. The Imperial Gladiators on 2-3. Nordic Nightmares also on 2-3. Propping up the bottom of the board, the Spark Syndicate on a real slide here. They've really got to change some things. They've got to change some attitudes. They've got to figure out how they're going to get back into this season. The Socratic Slammers all the way at the bottom. 0-5 with a minus 27 run difference. I think we could be looking at the wooden spoon already. I know it's only week 5, but they just look terrible. I don't know where they're going to get the wins from. When we're looking at next week, we've got the Renaissance Runners against the Syndicate. Yeah, the Renaissance Runners are away. I still think they win this game. The Syndicate have got a lot of things to figure out. I think maybe with a change of pitcher, change of starter, maybe they could do something. But I'm going to give this one to the Renaissance Runners. The Vanguards, I think they're going to beat the Warlords away. I think the Warlords have put up some impressive numbers, had really, really good games. I think the Vanguards will actually sneak this one. Susan B. Anthony is very, very good. She's having a good season. This is a strong team. If they can hold on, they'll beat the Warlords. But this is going to come down to people like, is Antonescu fit? Is Tojo in form? Do the Vanguards need to go to Marshall early? I think if they have to go to Marshall and Antonescu's fit, the Warlords can win it. But otherwise, I'm giving it to the Vanguards. Crushers at home against the Gladiators. This one shouldn't be too difficult. The Gladiators looking a little bit better than they have done, but I think the Crushers can win this one. They've just got a few big hitters that I think can shut down the Gladiators, especially being at home. I think I'm giving it to the Crushers. Reds against the Slammers, it's no question. The Reds will win this one. They're going to get back to winning ways, get a little bit of confidence. It's a good point in the season to get a little bit of confidence and to try go 3-3. They need to put up some big numbers here, get that run difference up. That's really going to matter late in the season. I mean, they're doing all right now. They're on +9. I think they're going to double that. I think it's going to be pretty awful for the Slammers. Guillotines against the Potomac's. I think the Guillotines are going to win this one. The Potomac's have looked so good, but the Guillotines just look better and better every single week. I'm giving it to Forks and the Guillotines. I don't see Forks playing the whole game here. I think we might see Cienfuegos actually come in this game. I think we've not seen him yet, but on paper, I think he's got the skill set to put the Potomacs under some pressure, and I think it'll make them nervous seeing a pitcher they've not seen play yet. I think it might throw them off. The first few games, they looked so good, but now we're seeing they're not unbeatable. I think the Guillotines are going to beat them here. I'm going to give it to them. And then Flushers. Flushers are away at the Nordics. The Flushers will win here. They'll beat them. Bonaparte's looking good enough. The Nordics can throw out some big hits, but I reckon the Flushers have got what it takes to close them down. All right, that is week 5 in the books. I will see you next week.